We're just waiting for everybody to get started. So we'll give it a few minutes here. I hope everyone's doing well. We have Daniel and I think Jenny's there. So, hi guys. This might be a personal lesson for you, Daniel. I don't know. We'll see. So, we'll give it a few minutes. Anybody have any questions? Write any questions down. Type them in. We'll get this thing started. So, hi Daniel. Hi Jenny. Hi Marianne. We're waiting for everybody to get here. So. Hope everyone's doing well this night. Hi, Diana. Diana's craft table. Ooh, I like that. I like a craft table. Yeah, restitution, that's probably for another night. I was sentenced to a certain amount of restitution, $3.2 million. And then, yeah, it's a lot of money. And they took out money from my commissary account while I was in prison. And then I paid a monthly amount. I'll never get it paid, so. But we'd like to call me, you can call me, email me, and we can talk more specifically about your restitution or if you're gonna have some. So hopefully that helps. But it really depends on the person and how the judge sentenced you. Nothing's crippling. Even prison isn't crippling, Dan. Okay, so we're gonna get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday night, ladies' night, and gentlemen. I should say Daniel, too. Hi, Daniel. My name is Kathy Kaplan. I am a prison consultant with RDAP Dan and Federal Prison Time Consulting. Super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be able to help you guys, guide you in one small way or another. And I'm so appreciative to Dan Wise for this platform for Ladies Night. And let's get started. So tonight we're going to talk about the pre-sentence report, or the PSR. It's very, very important document. Some attorneys like to say it's nothing. The probation officer will come or you'll go to the probation officer, answer a few questions, they'll write up a report and you're done. Actually, this is the furthest from the truth. The probation officer will schedule an interview with you. It'll probably take anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. And they'll go through a lot of general questions. And then they'll write a report, which is the pre-sentence report. The pre-sentence report then will go to the judge and it'll have the probation officer's recommendation on a sentence. It'll have all the government facts of the case itself, any prior criminal records, juvenile or adult. It gets into a lot of specific areas. And there's a lot of areas that you can help yourself in preparing for this interview or preparing for the report. What we like to do is prepare the report for our clients. We like to have the clients walk in with like a 3-inch stack of papers. Usually so excited to see that their work is done, they're overworked, they're overloaded, and they're so excited to see all the documentation put in order, all the questions answered, all, birth certificate, driver's license, children's birth certificate, every documentation that you need is there, including financial documentation. So we like to handle that all for our clients, put it in a little pretty package, and give it to the probation officer. And then average your interview would be 15, 20 minutes. I sat in quite a few with our clients, and their attorneys sometimes are just me, and it always goes the same way. They're super excited to have the work done, the questions answered. We give them a few numbers for them to verify the information on somebody close in the friends or family. And then the probation officer will come over to your home and do a home inspection. So we want you to leave the probation office that day of the interview, knowing that the probation officer is happy about how fully prepared you for this interview. And the regular forms it's about 23 pages of regular forms, and then we add, all the supporting documentation. Like I said, we would need, or you'll need your driver's license, a copy of your driver's license, your marriage certificate, your divorce decrees, your education, your high school transcripts, copies of your college diplomas, your life insurance, your 3 months of your credit card bills. I mean, the list is endless, and we have that all written down for you. But that's what we like. So we're going to talk a little bit about the report itself. So the forms are pretty standard with the probation officer. We have found a few offices that use their own forms, and they'll be happy to give them to us or to you. And it's a worksheet so they first go through your facts of your identification, your names, any name you might have used, your birth date, your social security number, all those things, your criminal history, the actual instant offense data, your case number, everything in that. And then whether you signed a plea agreement or not. Do you take responsibility for your role in the offense that you're facing? So they ask about that, your conduct of the offense. They ask about your criminal history, whether you had any prior arrests, do you have any pending arrests, do you have any pending charges, what were the victims in your case. So they ask all about your previous criminal history, and then we get into the characteristics of you. Where did you live? They want to know every residence that you lived, city and state. They want to know who your parents are, who your siblings are, the age, the address, the telephone numbers. And this way, why they want to know about your immediate family is so when you do get into prison, if you do, and you go to your counselor, you'll have certain people that are in your PSR authorized, approved for visitation. So they'll be able to visit you right away if it's your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, anybody that you would want as your immediate family to come visit right away. This is the place to put it in your with your family history. And then, a paragraph or two detailing your family history. What was your childhood like? Did your parents or your siblings have any drug abuse problems, alcohol abuse? They go into, your family history. And this is a really good thing to put down your family history so you can kind of not explain away or excuse away, I should say, your crime, but maybe more explain it for the probation officer. So he knows that you're a good person, that you're, you grew up in a strong household, or maybe you grew up in a crazy household, a chaotic household, a dysfunctional household. Whatever the case may be, we want to make sure that we explain it thoroughly in the report. Then it gets into the marital status and the children, and also the history of your marriage, your children's lives. Were they involved in any criminal history? Did they have any alcohol, drug abuse? This is our chance. This is our chance to be absolutely honest and open about it, because it can only help to serve you. Then we get into the physical condition of yourself. What medicine are you taking? And this is important for when you go into prison, little things like you can't climb a ladder to get on the top bunk. You have back issues, you had back surgery. We want to make sure that it's easier for you to get a bottom bunk pass with those conditions. Same thing with same thing with like a soft shoe pass, maybe. Maybe you can have limited work duty, so you need to work in the dining room, wiping down tables. I don't know what the situation is But anything medical like that needs to be put in here. Very, very important. And then also with your mental health and your emotional health. It might give the probation officer and a judge a little look into your mental status. How are you handling all this with the case? What kind of problems do you have? Have you had treatment for these mental health problems? And this is where do we do it? And then we go into the substance abuse. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, the RDAP program. But let me see if we have any questions. Let's see here. We have Daniel ask, disabling conditions documented in the PSR, absolutely. The PSR staff or the staff at the BOP will look at this PSR when it's all done and finalized by the probation officer, and they'll look at it and say, okay, well, does he have a back problem? Let me look at the PSR. Does he have this? Let me look at the PSR. If you have really debilitating medical conditions, they might put you in a medical facility. I've seen that with a couple of our clients, but they needed it. They were on heart defibrillators and all that stuff. So they needed it. They needed the care. So yes, everything that you have suffered, Bar, you think it can make a difference in your prison experience in your day-to-day life, it needs to be documented in this report. It's very, very important. And 100% of the staff, first thing they do is they look at this report. So Dan also asked, and this was a question I got earlier today too, how important is it to document your educational level? The most important thing I can say is the high school transcripts. You could be a doctor. I saw it in my prison. There was a doctor there. She did not have, she had a copy of her degree, her college degree, but she did not have her high school transcripts. They actually made her complete the GED classes. Why? Because they can. I don't know why they would do that. They knew she was a doctor. Her case was all over the news, and yet they made her take the GED class. You know, it's prison. It's not supposed to be easy. So they do what they do because they can. And that's why we like to get involved. We like to document everything. Okay, Marianne, I'll tell you how you can reach me at the end of the program, or you can email me at Kathy@rdapdan.com. So that's Kathy with a K, K-A-T-H-Y, at rdapdan.com. And at the end, I'll shoot you a message with my phone number. Okay, so let's get back to the substance abuse. This is probably the most important part of this document. If you are looking at a sentence of 24 months or longer, you have a verifiable substance abuse, alcohol abuse, anything like that. Yes, it's very important you get it in here. This is your first and really best shot. I don't want to say only, but it's your best shot to get into the program with it documented in your PSR. So they'll ask you about your substance abuse. They'll ask you what you prefer taking, drugs, alcohol, what kind of drugs, how often do you take them, what kind of treatment you've received. We can also put in there if there was any DUIs or anything like that that will help you get into this program. It's really important. It's the only way to get additional time off with the BOP is going into the RDAP program. The in-resident RDAP program is a 500-hour program. Dan knows all about it. I actually, when I went into prison, I tried to get into the program. I only had a 21-month sentence, which was long enough for me, but it was only 21 months. Usually they require you 24 months. And I just found this document that I wrote out in prison. It's a, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it might be backwards. It's a official cop-out asking to be put into the RDAP program. And it's interesting because I look back this, 5 years later. This is dated July 12th, 2013. It was my, this was only 10 days after I surrendered to prison. and it was my second request. And I asked them to please reconsider me for the RDAP program. Even though I will not receive much or any time off, I have enough time remaining to partake in the program. I understand that the program begins August 28th through June 17th. I would appreciate a second look. Thank you. And so they wrote back, no, I'm sorry, you don't have enough release date. Your release time is not enough. So we're not going to give you to the RDAP, which was fine. I worked at it. And my point is, you always have to be working at everything. Every step of every time, you have to be fighting and working for yourself. That's why clients hire us, so we can help with that fighting. We can help a lot with that fighting, but it really starts with you guys. When I got to prison, the next day I got there, I went to the psychologist department. I asked if I could be considered for the RDAP program and went through the paperwork with that. It was definitely documented in my PSR, but as I said, I had kind of a good outcome because I didn't have enough time to take it. I only had a 21-month sentence, but I still tried. And then I did the Freedom from Drugs program, which is about 10 hours. And then I did a non-residential drug program, and very helpful, but it didn't get any time off. So it's very, very important to document your substance abuse, have it in the thing, talk to the probation department if they ask you any questions, be truthful. It's not a guarantee, but it's definitely a very, very, very good head start. Okay. So what documentations are considered to be legitimate when submitting evidence of a disability? Well, it depends on what disability it is and what is your goal of having them recognize the disability. Is there something that you need because of this disability? So it's a kind of a broad question, Daniel, I'm sorry. You know, you want to document everything. You don't need x-rays. You know, if you give them your doctor's number and address, that should be sufficient. Even with a bad back, the best thing is to get a letter from your doctor to verify the information that you're putting on the PSR. If you don't have it before your interview, get it before you surrender to prison, and you can take it in with you then, or mail it to yourself or something like that. Okay, back to the forms here. Let's see what time it is. Okay. So, and then we go into the education. Very important that you put down all your education, your special training and skills. And why they ask that, remember that this document mostly is designed to give recommendation to the judge, and also for the prison to determine how your daily life will be inside prison. So if you have any specialized training or skills, let's say if you know how to drive a forklift, let's put it down, because that's a good job in prison to drive a forklift in the warehouse or anything like that. Professional licenses. Then they ask about your military, on your military background, and then they get into your employment history. So the employment history, and they really want to know your ability to pay as well. But with the employment and the history, they can see how much money you made, where you worked, what kind of position you have. And it may help you get a job also in, let's say, the education department, if you're a teacher or something like that. So we want to make sure that we're complete. They want 10 years of your employment history. So that's pretty much it for the personal data. And then we get into the net worth and the financial data. So the net worth, especially if you have restitution or something on their forms, they have different sections and they talk about the assets. So you have to put down everything, all the assets of you, your spouse, whether it's a joint account or an individual account, whether it's for your spouse or your dependent. And then they want to know all your credit cards and bank statements and possibly, you know, loans owed to you, life and we'd need your, if you have, you know, your VIN number, we'd need your VIN number, the year, date, mileage, market value of your vehicles, real estate, the same thing, your address, purchase price, market value, mortgage loans owed to you, other assets, anticipated assets, business holdings. They're going to do an entire financial worksheet on you and what is your ability to pay for restitution, what is your ability to pay for fines. So there's a lot of important details that come into here and come into play. They want 3 years of your tax records. They want to know within a year of your arrest, did you transfer any assets over? Did you sell a car? Did you sell a TV? That's worth $500 more. This is not purchasing, but this is transferring of assets. They want to know what kind of shares holders you have or partners. Then they ask it, kind of a silly question, but they ask it assets you would liquidate. So, you know, and some people do, prospects of future assets. They want to know pretty much everything of your financial fingerprint. And then they get into the liabilities and your debts. Did you have any civil suits, bankruptcies? So that's all with the net worth. And then they go into the monthly cash flow. And again, this is to determine your ability to pay, your ability to pay restitution or possibly a fine. The probation officer will make a recommendation, usually if you're able to pay a fine or not, and how much that fine can be. And then we get into the monthly cash flow. You know, what is your rent or your mortgage, your groceries, your cable bill, your power bill, your water, so everything, every household bill. They want to see how you spend your money and what you have left over. So that's basically the 3 biggest parts of the forms. It's the personal information, the net worth statements, and the monthly cash flow. I know it sounds pretty scary and it's a lot of documentation to get together, but it's not so bad if you're prepared, and we can help you with that. So I think it's a great investment to invest in our PSR program, to help you and to feel confident when you go in there. Let's see, Daniel has a question. Do old appliances like TVs and computers and iPhones count as assets, or do they generally do not care about those? Well, they ask for any assets over $500 that you've sold in the last year or transferred, given away. So yeah, they care about that. And we want to be absolutely honest as possible. It's not going to hurt you to say, well, I sold my iPhone to pay for my legal fees, or I sold my car, or I sold my airplane, I sold my boat. Plenty of people sell plenty of assets to pay for the legal fees or for whatever. And it is what it is. You sold it to pay for whatever. And yes, we just need to document. Dan asked, what if your basic expenses exceed your income? What happens then? Well, what happens, I mean, that's not an unusual situation. A lot of people's assets or their monthly bills on paper is more than their income, especially now after they've, gone through an indictment and convicted of some sort of crime. So, it happens all the time. And they just say you probably have no ability to pay a fine. Doesn't mean that you'll be out of your restitution obligation, that's for sure. The judge will still sentence, if you have restitutions, for some kind of sentence on how to pay that back. Mine was, while I was under supervised release, mine was to pay 15% of my gross monthly salary. And that's what I did. So that's what I was ordered to do, and that's what I did. So you're welcome, Dan. So that's what we have on the PSR. Do we have any other questions? I know attorneys sometimes think about the PSR. A lot of them haven't even been to the interview. I've probably done 40 PSRs, maybe 50. It's a very, very important document. If nothing else, you guys remember that, how important this document is, and it will follow you throughout your prison stay. A lot of people call it the prison Bible, the PSR, because it will truly decide how your prison stay will go. I know I asked for a bottom bunk. The first thing they did was looked at my PSR. There's no medical conditions to require that, so they didn't give me a bottom bunk pass. Luckily, I got a bottom bunk when I was first there, and I never moved. I stayed in the same room because I was afraid that I might not get a bottom bunk if I moved rooms. Hi, Christina. It's nice to see you. I think we talked last week, but anyway, it's nice to see you, Christina. If you have any questions, type them in. Just about to wrap things up. We talked about the PSR and how important it is. I really can't stress that enough. You know, women or men, when they get into prison, they don't understand how the whole system works. They don't understand how they decide what room you're in or what job you're going to do or what medications you're going to be able to keep receiving. So we need to document everything. It's really, really important. Dan asked what my first week of prison was like. Actually, I'm going to do a show on that, Dan. And it was terrifying. It was glad to have it over. It was very long. And it was also a relief to be able to be in prison and to start my time and have my time tick down. Oh, I don't have it with me, but I'll have it next time. I found my little calendar too that I had in prison, and I counted down at the end of the month how much time I had left. I never really looked, well, I shouldn't say that, because towards maybe my last half of the sentence, I counted my hamburger days left. So that was every Wednesday we had hamburgers. And so I'd say, okay, well, I have, 18 more hamburger days left. So I had 18 more weeks left. So that was one thing that the girls, did, was count down their time that way. I always tried to look to see how much I've done, not how much I have left, because that seemed to work best for me. So yeah, it was everything you probably think it to be, but take that in half. The first week in prison isn't nearly as bad as our imaginations think that it would be. So I did make some good friends in prison, Daniel. I still communicate with a few of them now. I wasn't able to or allowed to when I was on supervised release because they were also felons. So I was really cognizant of that. I was really careful of who I dealt with. But yeah, I was able to make some really strong connections. There's really good people in prison, just like something, and they're paying the ultimate price. They're paying for their freedom. So don't go at it alone. Call our office, text YouTube to 76626 so you can get notified of our live broadcasts. And we're here to help you guys. That's what we're here for. And I'm super excited of this platform. I'm super excited to see some of the women here tonight. I really appreciate your time. And well, Dan has one more question. Was your restitution monthly or quarterly in prison, that is? They took my restitution out. They began quarterly, $25, until I paid my fine of $100. So they did 4 quarters, so almost a year. Maybe only two quarters. I'm sorry, 2 quarters. And then they started taking out $25 monthly. So crazy, because I got a collection letter in prison also. I'll share that next time. And it's saying, okay, for your convenience, we enclosed a envelope. And I'm like, well, did they the 3.2 million with stamps or with laundry tokens? Because they sent it to me in prison. Obviously, I didn't have any cash, credit cards, checkbooks, anything with me. So I don't know what their intent was, but it was pretty humorous at the time. So yeah, $25 a quarter or a month is not horrific. It can be managed. I paid probably, I went to school when I got out of prison, so I wasn't making an income, so I paid $200 a month because that's what my probation officer asked for, and I said, fine. And that's what I paid. So I paid $200 a month while I was on supervised release. So Thank you again, everyone. Oh, did I have a radio in prison? I had an MP3 player, which was just like a radio, but I could charge it without buying batteries, and I could download songs for it. And it had every radio station on it as well that we could access. So that's what I had. Anyway, I appreciate it, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Marianne, I can't wait to speak with you. Oh, she left. Hi, Kimberly. I just saw you too. Yeah, I didn't get a text either. I'm sorry about that. I'm glad you found your way. Yeah. Collection letter in prison. I know it's pretty funny, huh, Kimberly? Crazy. That's our government at times working the best for us. Anyway, my email is Kathy@rdapdan.com, and text YouTube to 76626. And I can't wait for next week. See you all at next week at 7 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific. Okay, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I say slower? Is that my email address? The email address is Kathy, Kathy, at RDAP, Dan.com. And the YouTube is YouTube. Text YouTube, the word YouTube, to 76626 to get notified for the live broadcast. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Pretty good.
Yes.
Better than last week?
Yeah, you're talking a little fast.